A historic moment, Fedorov has done it. The sky over Ukraine has finally been closed. Putin's Shaheds and missiles have come to an end. Moscow has fallen to its knees. At this very moment, Poland is finishing off Russia. An explosion has thundered. The dictator caught off guard crouched down. Russia has lost all its trump cards. A quiet elimination of Trump? An attempt on the US president has set a deadly process in motion. The first details are shocking. Americans are choosing a new head of state. Ahead of schedule? A bolt from the blue? Budanov has issued a tough ultimatum to the enemy. The Kremlin has fallen silent in mute horror. Britain and France are sending their best fighters to the Ukrainian armed forces. This army will definitely sweep away the occupiers. Has a nuclear bomb been activated? All this in our episode, Hell Point. It's incredible. The Ukrainian air defense has completely blocked the enemy's path now. An iron dome over Kyiv. Fedorov's shock anti-drone shield is operating at full capacity. Air defense is turning into impenetrable armor. And the Kremlin is nervously flipping through the calendar because it has never seen anything like this before. Zelensky is taking a step that changes the rules of the game. Ukraine now dominates its own skies. The first wave of details about this, you won't believe your eyes. The internet exploded with the news. Ukraine will have its own Iron Dome. The publication The Atlantic writes that Ukraine has created laser weapons against drones. The Sunray system is a prototype of laser weaponry capable of silently shooting down drones at a distance.
Visually, the Sunray system resembles an amateur telescope with cameras and can be mounted on the roof of a regular pickup truck. The weapon operates silently and emits no visible light. During the demonstration, the laser set the drone on fire within seconds, after which it fell to the ground.
The system is undoubtedly promising, but while work on the laser development continues, Ukrainian air defense is squeezing the maximum out of the weaponry currently available.
Even now, our Air Force is officially stating that in the event of a massive aerial raid, more than 90% of all Russian drones are successfully destroyed. This includes various types like Shahed mines, Gerberas, simple metal masses, and other flying rubbish, all neutralized as quickly as a flash of lightning.
One of the weapons that provides such a percentage of effectiveness, interceptor drones. They are anti-aircraft drones. In a month alone, interceptors from the Alpha SBU unit destroyed more than 300 Russian Lightning UAVs. And their use is actively scaling up. Analysts say that the goal is to bring the number of intercepted UAV-type targets to 80 to 90% of all destroyed targets. And that's because interceptor drones are a very effective weapon, not only in terms of shooting them down, but also in terms of the cost spent on each interception. But in the fight against UAVs, there is another solution: an anti-drone dome. Its main goal, according to the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, is to eliminate the threat while it is still approaching. And for this, Ukraine needs to improve its air target detection system, which is exactly what we are working on.
During the course of last summer, our national armed forces successfully purchased quite a large number, totaling in the hundreds, of advanced new sensors. These sophisticated units are specialized stations that are designed to be either mounted securely on mobile trailers or fixed in place, and they effectively combine a high-resolution radar, a comprehensive optoelectronic system, and a state-of-the-art infrared tracking system to provide full situational awareness. These specialized monitoring stations can identify an incoming radar signal and immediately transmit all the relevant data to the nearest mobile group, so that it can effectively deploy its tactical troops against it.
And this process is continuous, so new models are appearing in Ukraine's arsenal. For example, the Lanza LTR radar complex, which is being supplied to Ukraine by Spain. This system is capable of detecting targets at long distances and tracking low observable objects such as Shaheds and missiles at low altitudes. But let's get back to the anti-drone dome. According to experts, it neutralizes the threat of UAVs, and Russia will soon abandon this tactic, the drone swarm.
I personally believe that once the anti-drone dome is fully functional and operational, regardless of the specific weather conditions at the time, the overall rate of successful interceptions will be so high that it is highly likely it will no longer be profitable for the Russians to continue this practice. Of course, they won't cease these operations immediately, but that's primarily because they're not currently increasing them. The production of drones shows that they are in a crisis situation. They don't understand whether it's worth continuing with this technology or not. they've realized that it's not worth expanding it because it's already too costly. If out of 100 launched drones, 95 are shot down, then 93 to 92 are being intercepted.
However, to improve air defense, it's necessary not only to strengthen it with more weapons, but also to change the way it operates. And this is well understood in Ukraine, so President Zelensky has already announced a restructuring of how air defense teams will operate. In
certain regions, the way teams operate is being completely reorganized. Interceptors, mobile fire groups, the entire component of short-range air defense.
Exactly what this entails has not yet been disclosed, but one possible aspect is the active involvement of units from the Ukrainian ground forces in air defense operations. And there are already examples of this. On the night of February 3rd, during a massive Russian attack, air defense units of the 3rd Army Corps shot down 33 Russian UAVs that were flying to attack peaceful Ukrainian cities.
A layered defense system was in action, deployed by the Corps, brigades, and units to cover our troops on the front line. At the same time, the fighters of the Trika hold the first line of the country's air defense and destroy drones that the Russians direct for strikes across all of Ukraine.
Today, the air defense of the ground forces is the first echelon of protection for the Ukrainian sky. This echelon includes short-range anti-aircraft missile systems, mobile fire groups, interceptor teams, and anti-aircraft artillery.
Basically, what we have is just a small caliber of means of destruction, and accordingly a small engagement zone, which limits the targets we can engage. But thanks to this, there are also advantages. Our crews, our units are maneuverable and mobile. They use tactical level radars, and so we try to destroy as many aerial threats as possible that enter our area of responsibility. And
scaling this up and improving inter-service coordination will make Ukrainian air defense much stronger.
This approach is significantly more effective because it streamlines every single aspect of the workflow, ensuring that resources are utilized to their absolute maximum potential while simultaneously reducing the margin for error and increasing the overall quality of the final output in a way that was previously unattainable. The most important thing is to create an inter-branch automated system that will quickly and reliably, practically in near real-time mode, handle target allocation.
According to the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Oleksandr Syrsky, the process has already been launched. The redistribution of functions is beginning.
A redistribution of functions is planned between the anti-aircraft missile forces and the new branch of the military. This new branch will be responsible for covering important facilities.
All of this means that Ukraine is building not just a defense, but a multi-layered air defense system that makes our skies less accessible to the enemy.
The battle for life continues. Help is needed for a severely wounded hero. Doctors have already done the impossible, but ahead lies not just recovery, but a series of complex surgeries. All the details on how you can help our defender can be found in the description below the video. At this very moment, Poland is heating up, preparing to strike directly at the Russian Federation. Warsaw has gotten one step ahead of Moscow. Putin was made a fool of in public. A massive rout on enemy territory, the Ukrainian armed forces have harshly brought the Russians back to reality. There are no more missiles, these failures can't be hidden. The bunker dweller is losing his trump cards, and Europe is kicking out pro-Kremlin lackeys with force. The Orban era has truly come to an end. About this and more, let's continue the discussion.
Poland has mobilized to defend itself from Russia. The operational command of the Polish armed forces reports that, in connection with yet another recent massive Russian attack on Ukrainian territory, Polish and Allied aviation have begun operating in the country's airspace.
This specific region of the atmosphere is known as the designated and controlled airspace.
The Polish side states that these measures are preventive in nature and are aimed at ensuring safety and protecting the airspace, especially in areas adjacent to zones of threat. And this is already the Kursk region. Drone operators from Ptashka Drone of the 80th Separate Air Assault Brigade showed the results of striking a warehouse with equipment and drones, the enemy in the Kursk region. Preliminarily, as a result of the strike, 10,000 FPV drones and 10 pieces of equipment were destroyed. A moment showing a Ukrainian munition hitting one of the Russian factories has appeared online. Users note that this is an attack by a Ukrainian FP-5 Flamingo missile on the Votkinsk plant, which produces missile systems for the occupier's army, including Iskander-M, Topol-M, and even the infamous Oreshnik missiles. Over the past day, February 25th, the Russians have increased the number of assaults in the Pokrovsk and Huliaipol directions.
This concerns Kotlin, and accordingly, the occupiers are trying to break through in the Pokrovsk area. In addition, fighting has been recorded in the areas of Hrishin and Novopavlivka. The occupiers are using a mixed tactic, both infiltration by assault groups and, accordingly, assaults with mechanized columns.
Deep state analysts have recorded enemy advances near Zakitiny in the Kramatorsk district.
Located within the Donetsk region of eastern Ukraine, this territory has become a focal point of international attention, characterized by its industrial landscape and strategic importance in the Donbas basin. It serves as a major center for coal and steel production. The region remains a central zone of significant developments affecting the lives of millions of residents across its diverse urban and rural districts. At the moment, they are establishing fire control over the locations of the Ukrainian Defense Forces. I should also note that simultaneously there is pressure being applied in the direction of Kostiantynivka. The fighting is heavier in Kostiantynivka itself, in the area of Stuposhki and the Kleban Bike Reservoir. In other words, the occupiers have moved on to their strategic objective. This is a matter of seizing territory by military means. Specifically, the territory of Donetsk region, namely the Sloviansk-Kramatorsk agglomeration.
Viktor Orban is afraid of Ukraine. The Hungarian Prime Minister made statements about an alleged Ukrainian threat to his country's energy system.
Moreover, all this is happening right at the time of actual preparations for the elections.
That is the use of anti-Ukrainian rhetoric. Prime Minister Viktor Orban is trying to improve his personal approval ratings.
In order, so to speak, to protect Hungary from certain actions that, in the politician's opinion, could occur in addition to the suspension of Russian oil supplies through the Druzhba pipeline, Orban ordered the deployment of the military to guard the infrastructure.
Shock. The silent elimination of Trump has begun. The political temperature in the US has soared sharply. An assassination attempt on the president in front of everyone. The ratings are reacting nervously. Opponents are going on the offensive and are now playing openly. Is impeachment really going to happen? Will this story escalate into a large-scale crisis for the White House? And what is happening behind the scenes, beyond the public speeches and official statements about the full picture? Without embellishment coming up next.
Another assassination attempt on Trump. An intruder broke into the Mar-a-Lago residence and was shot by security. At that moment, the president was in Washington.
This morning, security service employees discovered that someone had entered the inner grounds of the residence. They went to check and encountered a white man who had a canister of gasoline and a shotgun with him. He was ordered to drop both items, and he dropped the canister, but then picked up the shotgun and took a shooting stance. At that moment, the deputy sheriff and 2 Secret Service agents opened fire and neutralized the threat. This
is already the third assassination attempt. In 2024, a man with a rifle was apprehended while waiting for Trump near a golf course. And a few months earlier, during a campaign rally, a sniper's bullet whizzed past the head of the President of the United States, grazing his ear.
There was blood everywhere, and yet, in a way, I felt completely safe because God was with me, on my side.
All these assassination attempts are not a coincidence, but a natural reaction to Trump's unpopular and eccentric actions. More and more government agencies are opposing his policies. The US Supreme Court ruled that Trump had exceeded his authority when he imposed tariffs on imported goods. The court's decision provoked anger and hysteria in the president.
They are extremely unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution. In my opinion regarding the court's decision, foreign interests and a political movement, which is not very large, influenced it. These people are bold and rude. They make themselves heard very loudly. Some judges are afraid of this. They do not want to do the right thing.
There are active statements against Trump in the Senate. And with such a negative rating, it is increasingly likely that the Republicans will not win a majority in the upcoming fall elections.
I think Donald Trump has not read the Constitution. I think he is simply unaware and does not understand that this is the foundation of our democracy. I think he does not understand what it means to be an American. And no one in his family has ever served in our military. Basically, the only thing he cares about is how he can swindle money from the American people, including his own supporters. I think he is an idiot who has surrounded himself with a bunch of sycophants who just need his approval.
Even the Republicans themselves are speaking out against Trump, introducing bills that overturn his initiatives. This
law essentially recognizes and emphasizes the role we, as a NATO country, play by cooperating with our allies and ensuring that we will not act against them. And nothing will be spent on this. This is a very clear and unambiguous message, and honestly, I never thought I would have to write it and present it in Congress.
The Gallup Research Institute, which has been evaluating presidential ratings for 88 years, will no longer measure Trump's rating, all because of his rapid decline. Back in December of last year, only 36% of the population supported Trump.
I don't think anyone will want to run against us. I have the best numbers of my entire career, the best poll numbers in all of history. I've just finished 8 wars and I'm about to end the 9th.
A wave of protests swept across the United States. In the special Senate elections in the traditionally Republican state of Texas, the Democratic Party candidate won, just as in the New York mayoral election and the gubernatorial races in Virginia and New Jersey.
The Democrats will do everything possible to declare the president's impeachment valid and remove him from the White House. And here, the struggle is quite serious. This is not just a fight for power. It's also a fight for freedom, because Trump may believe that if he resigns from the office of President of the United States, as a result of impeachment, he may become the subject of new and, of course, old court cases.
It is obvious that Americans are becoming increasingly hostile toward the president, whom just a year ago they adored and elected by an overwhelming majority. All that remains is to guess when and with what approval rating Trump will leave the presidential seat.